Now, I'm just going to put it out there, I have not seen Citizen Kane. I know, I'm a film nerd. I say that about myself, and I haven't watched the greatest film, apparently, of all time. You can unsubscribe. I know, I'm not a well-informed film critic. Hey, what's up, you guys? Yes, I am back here again for another review. Like, I'm sorry, I keep giving you content. I don't know what this productivity is. I do apologize, but you have had 4 videos out of me. So lucky. But yes, so here's your 4th video, and of course I was gonna do this review. I had to, although I'm not original because I know everyone else has done their review in black and white, but I think I dressed up a little bit more sophisticated. I dressed up kind of like the glamorous actresses of the time. I even put a bit of purple lipstick on, although it will look darker on your screen because red never showed up and they always had to use dark lipstick. Oh, education. This is what you come here for. But anyway, guys, enough about me saying why I am reviewing this film simply because I get to dress up like this and it's my only chance to because of lockdown. And let's actually talk about the film I'm going to review today, and that is Mank, the film directed by David Fincher and actually was written by Jack Fincher in the 80s, I think it was, which is David Fincher's dad. And this is a Netflix original that obviously aired today, hopefully if I get my review out early. But Mank is a film set in the 30s and the 40s, and it's about the man Herman J. Mankiewicz. I can't say the surname, I'm terrible. You should know this already. But yes, it follows him as he writes Citizen Kane, a small little film. I don't know if you've heard of it before, but there is a film called Citizen Kane, and he wrote it in 60 days. Now, obviously you're thinking 60 days, but it takes place in the 30s and the 40s. Boof. What is maths? I don't know. But this film actually has flashbacks to the 30s, but they are used to give context as to why Mank himself wrote what he did for Citizen Kane, and it focuses heavily on the relationship he has with William Rudolph Hearst, who was this big sort of newspaper guy, and he had a lot of influential status in the political field, that he backed up Roosevelt when he went for the election. And he had this massive printing company, and he was in talks with people like MGMA. I keep saying MGMA. It's MGMM. I can't say it, I'm terrible. With corporations like that, production companies. And he was also having a relationship with Marion Davis, who is actually focused as well as another part of the flashbacks with the relationship between Mank and Marion. But obviously this is a biographical film, so it centres around Mank, who is this not really functioning alcoholic. He's very opinionated too, both politically and he just doesn't really care. He will tell you how he feels, I think, and that's mostly to do with the alcohol as well, giving him that extra little bit of confidence boost. But I think Gary Oldman played him perfectly. I actually kind of grew to love Mank. I kind of liked his just no fucks given sort of feeling, and how he doesn't care if he loses everything, and how he's actually proud of the stuff that he wrote. He made Mank an interesting character as well as an interesting historic figure that I'm actually going to probably start to have a little bit more of a look on and see who he was, because to be fair, I didn't actually know that there was another person that wrote Citizen Kane. I thought it was Orson Welles that directed it, that starred in it, that produced it, that wrote it. I did not know that there was another person involved in this film. And it's kind of funny in a sense because Mank actually wasn't gonna get credited for his writing for Citizen Kane. He had to fight for it. He had to practically lose everything, lose all of his money, all of his respect and dignity in a sense that he kind of had left going for him. But Mank's no fucks given kind of attitude pretty much comes because he's getting a bit washed up. He isn't getting the same credit as he used to be. People are calling him a jester, and people just aren't having the same faith in his writing anymore. You see his conflict with the big production companies like MGM, but because it focuses on Marion Davis's relationship with William Rudolph Hearst, you can tell that there's going to be a lot of politically driven narratives in this. Now, this is, again, as I said, set in the 30s and 40s, so the companies MGM and sort of Paramount that was announced and Universal and stuff, they were really like getting started, and it was all starting in the Great Depression, which had a massive impact on Hollywood. And I think it's a very untold story in Hollywood, because I didn't really know about these big players. I knew about MGM and sort of all of like the Writers Guild and the Depression and the impact that had on it, and also Germany as well, with Germany being a really big part of cinema with their German expressionist films, and like how the war and the tensions between the like all of these countries kind of put strain on like, do we give them films? Like the Weimar sort of era, they never got any films from overseas, so that's why the big companies had to make their own sort of German expressionist films and had to be different. A bit of history for you all. Obviously, with it being around that time as well, you get some little references to some other films, which I love, because I love old-fashioned films, so I'm like, I was eating all of that culture reference up. And with it having that time frame and that era, they use a lot of dramatic irony. They talk about talkies and how they're a bit like, they're not going to do anything, and they talk about Mank himself talks about Wizard of Oz and how that will crumble the studio and make the studio broke. And it's like, oh honey, how wrong you were. Now enough about the history, because I'm not dressed as a school teacher today. I'm dressed as a glamorous movie star. I still keep using the word glamorous just for humorous effect. I bet you're barely laughing right now. So let's actually talk about why I love this film. Oh my fucking god, I love this film. Basically, from the offset, as soon as they had like the little like titles with the names on it and how they appeared, and it was like grey, and it was just like all of these things, I geeked out. Because I love sort of things that make homage to the old classic films like the Casablancas and the Citizen Kanes as well. Like, this is very much like the title sequence of Citizen Kane, but from the first thing I was like, yeah, I'm in love with it. I knew I would love it anyway because it's in black and white, and I just love black and white films because I'm weird like that. But then this film just kept on and kept on and kept on getting too freaking good. It got me so excited. They would have like a typewriter like write out the scene headings that you would have in a script, and it would say that it's a flashback. It would say when it was, where it is, exterior, interior, and it would have like the little clicky sound, and it would be like click, like, you know, when you push it and it like drops down a level and everything. It would have that and it would drop down. Little things with me. And then also it had like the same techniques. Now, obviously, with it being in the 30s, it was the talkie films, and you had F.W. Murnau. Now, if you were ever a film student, you would have heard of Sunrise, A Song of Two Humans. But this film kind of revolutionized movement, you know, like the tracking shot. Like, F.W. Murnau used the camera, and he didn't want just like the proscenium arch effect when the person like walked to the camera. He wanted to make the camera part of the action. But that's what I loved about this film. There's like, I know with film, because of what he did, like, people now can move cameras, so every film moves cameras. Like, I shouldn't be like, oh my god, they did a pan shot, they did a tracking shot, they did a Dutch tilt. I shouldn't be that like blown away by it. But there was something about how he used the camera that felt old-fashioned. I don't know why. And not just like the camera techniques as well. There was like, you know, in like old films when they have the car scene and the driving and then through the window kind of looks a little bit shady, like terrible green screen. Like, if I was to do a green screen, like, obviously now you would be like, dude, like, just get better CGI. But the fact that David Fincher stuck to the time era, even for how he made the film, with how he framed like the windows around the car, it felt a little bit hokey, but it felt so perfect as well because that's the era. And also when Mank is doing that kind of drunk scene when he's in the casino-y type place when they're waiting for like the ballots to come through, they do like a weird montage mash up thing, and they do like a double exposure, and like these things seem quite technical, but to be fair, they used to do this with even like strips of film. If you've watched again Sunrise, they did like a double exposure, and they would do it with like pieces of tape. They would do it with Vaseline and stuff. So these again didn't feel out of place, but they also felt, again, old-fashioned. They felt a little bit choppy, a little bit less crisp. Like, with editing, he could have made them so crisp and so sleek, but there was still that kind of, like, choppiness to them, and the double exposure and the use of, like, montage as well. It just seemed to fit the old-fashioned, how the times and the films around that era started to get a little bit more creative. Now, this film should and will and definitely get an Oscar. Like, I want it to be at least nominated. I want Gary Oldman to win all of the Oscars because I love Gary Oldman. I don't know what it is about him, but I just want to give him a hug. I think he was brilliant in this film. I think the whole rest of the cast was brilliant in this film. This is the second time that Tuppence Middleton has appeared in one of my films that I reviewed, because she was in Possessor and now she's in this, and I was like, oh hey girl, I remember you from last week. But obviously with this film highlighting Hollywood, and well, actually not so much the best bits of Hollywood, but at least like paying homage to Hollywood and the old classic films. When you look at stuff like Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water, when it has that like beautiful appreciation of cinema, I do kind of think it will be highly likely that it will win an Oscar. Okay, it's my favourite of 2020. I have to say that. Like, I loved Rose: A Love Story that I got to see at London Film Festival, but I'm sorry, I really like Mank, and I will have to watch it again after I watch Citizen Kane so I can understand more of the history bit to it. I do really love David Fincher films. Like, he's not probably one of my favourite directors, but he's definitely on top of there, like Zodiac, Gone Girl, stuff like that. They are an enjoyment to watch, but this was something different. I really do think it's a strong film, and I highly, highly recommend it. And to be fair, even if you haven't watched Citizen Kane, you can still appreciate this film as I did. It's just an untold story about one of the greatest films that have ever been made. Like, this is the one that tops the 100 charts all the time. And it's just cool to see it from a different perspective and to see why the film was made, how it was made, and the context it was made from. Right, so I'm gonna have to quickly wrap that up because my camera is flashing red with the battery, and I'm like, oh no, I've gotta go, I've gotta stop talking, because I probably have been talking for a long time, so this is like your saving grace, like you're saved by the bell. But anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this review as much as I enjoyed making it, as well as watching the film, because this film is pretty darn good. But again, before I do that and my camera switches off, I just want to say thank you ever so much for watching my review today. If you want to talk about this film to me, or you want to talk about any other films that you recommend me, please use the comments down below, or use my social media. The links will be in the description. And also guys, like and subscribe. Have a lovely rest of your day or evening whenever I get to be able to post this review up. And in the words of the guy, I don't know which guy it was, but a guy said it in this film, Cheerio! I'm gonna make that my next like outro, I think. Just like, Cheerio guys! Mwah! Bye. Like, oh, he's a functioning alcoholic, but he's cute and we must protect. See, in my mirror, this purple lipstick ain't working. I look like a hooker. It's like in black and white, it'd be fine. I look sophisticated, but with the hoops and the purple lipstick, I look like a hooker. I'm not even a good one. Jesus.